What is up, guys? Taft Artington here for another 19's itemization video. Today we're going to be doing Shaman. For purposes of consistency, we assume it is better to stat stack as opposed to stat smooth. This is situational and depends on your set as a whole. All items are best in slot and we list them in order of preference. We assume that the armor values and uniqueness variables on Classic DB are accurate, and we list the items in game order. So for Shaman, before we start talking about all the different items, we should talk about what a Shaman 19 is, because you can play it in a lot of different ways. Um, I've seen people go like spell power. I've seen people go like heavy into strength and agi, and they think they're a rogue or something. I've seen people go just all into like plus healing and intellect and done nothing but healing. Um, but I think the most advantageous way to play Shaman is to primarily be a healer. Is to be a healer who is tanky. To be a healer who, like when a rogue gets on them or a hunter gets on them for the first time, they see, wow, this person's really tanky. I'm not going to focus this person because I can't burst them. And to also be the kind of healer who hits the purges on the blessing of freedoms when it matters, to hit the purges on the mages to allow the rogues to go crazy on them, to purge basically all the things and to hit earthbinds when they're needed. Um, that's really like what a shaman. I think a shaman is best played as. Also, if you itemize correctly with the shaman, you'll be able to 1v1 anybody. Whenever I had my shaman, I'd go up against the best rogue on the server, and I was able to 1v1 him consistently every time. Um, yeah, well, that's also somewhat of play style, but I think it's a lot more to do with itemization. And whenever we go through this, you'll see we don't have any plus healing gear because Shaman already has a really high base heal. So you end up getting a lot more value out of intellect than you would have plus healing for healing spells. And also intellect is a very big stat for shaman. You pretty much operate completely off of int or off of mana. And when you run out of mana as a shaman, there's really not much you can do. There's really not much value you can add. It also should be said, shaman don't have frost shock at 19, so if you were thinking about like chasing people down and hitting them with your dagger or whatever, it's not really the type of playstyle Shaman has at 19 because you don't have Frost Shock. You only have Earthbind. So with that being said, let's get into it. Everybody starts off with the green tinted goggles from 150 engineering, 8 stam, 7 spirit. And we leave them this with either Arcanium of Constitution, that's 100 HP, or Arcanium of Rumination, that's 150 mana. What I found on my shaman is that since mana was so big, I would go one Libram 100 HP because health is always huge. And then for the other one, I would go 150 mana. So another option. So you'll see whenever we go through this, we've got sort of our general purpose item, and then we have like an intellect uh, option for if you want to play shaman just as like a pure healing class, which you can do. And I think playing it as a pure healing class is much better for your team than playing it as if you were a rogue or something with but so we I just want to say we're going to show that there are intellect, like almost pure intellect options for shaman, and it's definitely a play style that is really good. So Shadow Goggles from Engineering as well, 6 Spirit, 5 Intellect. These are the two goggles that you can start out with. Um, And then eventually you will upgrade to the Lucky Fishing Hat from the STV Fishing Tournament. This comes out with the ZG patch. 15 stamina, and it looks really cool. 15 stamina versus 8 stamina. Pretty obvious how much better this one is. It should also be said, Shaman don't get much out of Spirit. Um, they get a lot more out of MP5. So, we also show the Hooded Cowl here. This is from the Dangerous quest in Hillsbrad that pairs with the Battle for Hillsbrad quest, which you will be doing as a Shaman. I don't know if I would necessarily do it with it. I don't necessarily know if I would do Dangerous with Battle of Hillsbrad just for the helm. This isn't the shield you would be getting. I will show you the shield, and I don't know if I actually have the shield in here, but we'll go over that when we get to shields. Because Battle of Hillsbrad is a very XP intensive quest, and you need to pre-discover all of Hillsbrad. This is for all classes. If you're going to be doing the Battle for Hillsbrad quest, let's just pull that up since we're talking about it. Battle for Hillsbrad. So you can see it's a really long quest chain, and each of the quests give like 2,000. I think they start out at like 1,800, and it builds like 200 more XP for each one you do. And you need to pre-discover the area if you're going to do Battle of Hillsbrad. Well, really, just for regardless, you should pre-discover the area. But also, if you're going to do Battle of Hillsbrad and the Dangerous quest, you absolutely have to pre-discover the area. Because if you're going to do both quests, you're going to be so close to 19, and I would hate to see anybody end up leveling to 20 because they didn't pre-discover an area. But yeah, we'll eventually go there for the Dead Skull Shield. Um, so for necklace, everyone starts out with the Tarnished Silver Necklace or the Voice Amplification Modulator. Again, these don't have any effect; they're just a placeholder. They don't do anything. The Voice Amplification Modulator is from Engineering. It's fairly expensive, and the Tarnished Silver Necklace is you can buy it on the auction house, but it also drops out of the Graves and Zul'Farrak. Uh, but eventually, everyone will get the Scout's Medallion from Honored with Warsong Gulch, 6 agility, 2 stamina. It's the only option with any stats on it. For shoulder, everyone starts out with, well, you start out with all these. There isn't really an upgrade, but you get the Talbar Mantle, and this is going to be your best option, hands down. This is from the Glowing Shard, which drops off the last boss, the Murloc boss in Wailing Caverns after the escort event to end the nightmare. 6 intellect, 3 stamina, really big. This is like some of the best. If only they were leather. If only they were leather. Like that would be the only way it could be better, really. But those are huge. Another option, again, this is for the sort of like more casting option if you want to be a sort of sit back and heal shaman. Ghostly Mantle from Deathstalkers and Shadowfang. You can start this at level 18. Oh, and I forgot to mention Talbar Mantle starts at level 15, by the way. So you can get that and do that quest at level 15 if you want to be if you want to be careful with your XP. But Ghostly Mantle, Deathstalkers and Shadowfang at level 18, you pick this up in the Sepulcher. It's just another option. And then Scouting Spalders for if you get a second Nax shoulder enchant, or really whichever leather shoulders you like the aesthetic of. And we should take a look at the Nax enchants for Shaman. You should almost always go for the Fortitude of the Scourge. That's 100 armor and 16 stamina. The 100 armor probably doesn't sound that impressive, but it actually is quite a bit of armor. And the 16 stam is quite obvious. It's a lot of stam. Um, and if you were to get that, I would go and put those on Talbar Mantle. The other two options Resilience to the Scourge, healing and magical spells effects by 31 and 5 MP5. These are actually really big. I said plus healing's not that big of a deal on Shaman because you already have so much base healing, but when you're talking about 31 for healing and magical spells, it's kind of on another level. And then 5 MP5 is just really great for Shaman. Any MP5 is really great. And then you see why we put Mind of the Scourge at the bottom because we we think it's better that you go into sort of like basically operating off of mana at Shaman at 19 is better than operating off of a weapon. And it's like that's the case for Shaman across the board. It's really not the only time it's not the case is at 39 when you have Pendulum of Doom. But even at 60, like elemental shamans just walk all over enhanced shamans in PvP. Um, but you're really not going to be doing that much elemental. Like you'll be using Searing Totem, Flame Tongue, and what did I say? And Flame Shock. You're not really you're not ever like casting lightning bolts. You don't have chain lightning, so but it is still worth to get some amount of like spell damage type stuff, and it is still worth to get some amount of attack power stuff because you're as a shaman you're kind of a class that does it all, and so you do want to have a healthy mix of different things, but you almost always want to sort of lean on the side of survivability and mana as opposed to like just doing raw physical damage. For Cloak, everyone starts out with Engineer's Cloak. This is really good. Engineer's Cloak starts with his physics quest, which starts in Ratchet right next to the Flight Master. It's a fairly short quest line, not hard to get. I believe it starts at level 16 or maybe 17. But yeah, 5 stam, 2 int, just glorious stats. And whenever you get this, you want to put plus 5 all resistance on the cloak. This is the only cloak enchant that's PvP oriented. So whatever is your sort of mainstay cloak, you always want to have this on it, 5 all resistances. And then eventually you will get um, honored with Warsong Gulch, and that's when you will wear the Battle Healer's Cloak. Now the thing is, these cloaks are so close in value, I kind of hesitate even putting Battle Healers above it. Um, because they're so close. Same amount of armor, 1 less stam, 2 spirit, 9 healing. Um, it's honestly kind of hard to say. The reason, I guess, really why I put battle healers above engineers is because the plus healing um, sort of exemplifies the fact that you are primarily a healer as a shaman. Um, but that's really it. Really, sort of just to make a point. I mean, they're so close in value. It's really hard to say that the battle healers is better than engineers because you entirely operate off of int. But but it's almost just to make a point. I would say these are basically the same value. But whichever one is your mainstay cloak, and I would say that would be your battle healers. Whenever you get there, you'd want 5 all resistance. And then whenever you get that, you can change your engineer's cloak to either like a shadow resistance enchant or a superior defense enchant, 70 armor. And you could wear this, you could put 70 armor on engineers for like a tanky build if you're coming across like a lot of rogues and hunters who, want to eat you. Um, you go 70 defense and wear that for those games. For chest piece, Black and Defiance armor is going to be your best option. This drops off of Van Cleef in the Dead Mines, 11 stamina, 3 agility, 4 strength. So I said that you don't want to prioritize strength and agi type stuff, but also said Shaman's an all around class, and you still want some amount. You pretty much want to pick it up um, when it comes on items that already have the stuff you're looking for. So 11 stam is just really big. Nothing comes close to 11 stam. And then the agi and strength just add a little bit more on, and it's got a bonus amount of armor on it. So that's really good. Um, and we would go greater stats on that or major health, depending. Um, I would say greater stats and use this as sort of a 1v1 type of chess piece, or if you're in a game where you're having to do um, where you're having to do like a lot of different things in a game, basically carrying a team, you would want to wear this. Another option, bark shell mantle. This comes from Betrayal from Within quest. Starts at level 17. I believe comes from the little guy in the cage in Camp Taharo. Um, but yeah, with let's get back to it. 4 stamina, 7 int. It might not seem that impressive, but it's really good because it's leather and it has 7 int. This is the only leather option that has this much intellect on it and still has a healthy amount of stamina. So I personally wore this all the time on my shaman, and I even like it on druid as well. Just because the amount of int is just out of this world for leather chess pieces at 19. And you go greater stats on that only. Um, and then we also show tree bark as an option. This is again for the type of person who wants to play like only healer, who just sits back and like pretty much only heals. Because the thing is, whenever you get up into people's faces and you start taking damage, that armor really adds a lot. And for shaman, it's more important for shaman than you would imagine, because people are going to want to kill you because you're purging and you're healing and you're earth binding. You're all around really annoying. So that's why I tend to prefer going a lot more into armor, because we assume like 80% of the damage you take in 19s are is physical. um, and so anywhere where you can pick up armor, you want to do it. But yeah, tree bark for the extra int, and we would go major mana on that. But just get them all, and then test, play around with them, see which one you like the most. So for bracers, ring the wristbands of the Eagle 3-3, hands down, gonna be the very best thing you can be wearing. Um, Another option would be ring the wristbands of stamina. Now, if you were to go with ring the wristbands of the Eagle, I would go superior stam, and if you wanted to have the second pair for like mana regeneration, then I would put those on something like wristbands of stamina, just for easy swapping. Because the mana regen is going to end up being a heck of a lot more than 3 int, um, you know, over the course of however many minutes. But yeah, not much to it. I mean, it's an auction house item. Gonna be kind of expensive. We show mind thrust bracers. I really wouldn't ever wear mind thrusts, because it has a -5 stamina on it. I would pretty much never wear this on a shaman. Now, before, when it was just 9 int, it was, a good item to have. But now that it's cloth and it's -5 stamina, I just simply would never wear it as a shaman. But we do show it for, just to be consistent with showing like just pure caster type items. And if you were going to do that, then you would just, you know, greater int 7 intellect bracers is always the, the option there. Really don't like bracers on a shaman at 19. There's really no like fun item to use, so pretty much just 3-3 eagles. and then if you wanted a mana regen, like a 5 stam. So for gloves on Shaman, in my opinion, the number one item is going to be jute braid gloves, mainly just because the raw stats on it are so big. You are giving up a leather option, but the thing is, with the glove slot, is one of the lowest armor value slots. So you're not giving up that much armor to get into cloth. Um, Jute braid gloves, 6 intellect, 6 strength, really big, just raw stats. I love it. This comes from Horde Presence, but it comes from the Rune Scroll, which drops off of Swift River, who's one of the four. I'm sure you've seen him in the Southern Barrens here. One of the four elites that patrols around the Alliance elites who are like mounted. Swift River will drop the Rune Scroll, which starts at level 15, and it will get you the quest Horde Presence, which rewards Jute Braid Gloves. 6 strength, 6 intellect, really big, just raw stats, and you're not giving up too much armor in the glove slot for those big stats. And we show firepower on it because fire damage is actually kind of big for Shaman. It's where a lot of your damage will come from with your totem, your flame shock, and and I believe there is scaling on the what was I saying? I said searing totem will get scaling, the flame shock will get scaling, and I believe so will flame tongue. Um, I believe that will also have scaling, so we do show that. But the other option, maybe a little safer of an option, is Scouting Gloves of the Monkey. These are from the auction house, or sorry, Scouting Gloves of the Eagle. 4 intellect, 4 stamina from the auction house. I show Rugged Armor Kit here. So somebody actually tested this and found it. You're no longer able to apply Rugged Armor Kit to level 19 items because Blizzard is using a TBC reference client. They don't have like a classic reference client, and so like it's just it's so irritating. Um, like we all wanted these classic servers, just so that our characters don't just disappear out of thin air. But honestly, like I almost feel like it was more fun playing the private servers where they actually had the stuff scripted correctly. Can't apply rugged armor kit. It's just ridiculous. Um, anyway, you would end up getting 7 agility enchanted on these scouting gloves of the eagle, or firepower, or greater agility, whichever one you like. I think firepower would be the better play as opposed to the agility. I think you're gonna get more damage out of firepower than you will with agility. We also show null casting gloves, which are BOE. I think I've gone over these in another one of the videos. But basically, I wouldn't buy these off the auction house because they're so easy to farm up. Let's find them. Okay, no. Let's see, I don't think this shows it, but I wouldn't farm these up. So not these blue dots. I don't know what all this is. But over here where my cursor is, if you can see that, there are these little camps of gnolls out there. And the mystics, the casters over there, have like a really high drop chance for these gloves. So like yeah, it took me maybe 15 minutes to farm up a pair with my main. So it really wasn't hard at all to go get these. But I wouldn't necessarily um, say to get these, but we do list them there because they are the best in slot damage and healing option. And we also show red whelp gloves. And I don't really know if I would go with this. I mean, if you do, then you'd want to use a very fast dagger. Um, And if it has scaling with fire damage, and I don't know of anyone who's tested it yet, but it needs to be tested, is another option. Like you wouldn't want to wear that with a slow hitting weapon. You'd want to use a very fast hitting weapon with those. But I would say Jute Break gloves, just the raw stats are really big, and they're really well. They fit really well with Shaman. You know, just really high attack power and really high intellect. Um, so yeah. For belt, number one option is going to be Screecher Belt. This is from the Harpies Threatened quest, or it starts with Harpies Threatened. I believe that should start at level 17. It says 18 here, but I'm pretty sure it can start at 17. This is in Stone Talon Mountain, Sunrock Retreat. Kill those harpies, and then you go and get the remains of the elite harpy over there in the Charred Vale. Rewards the Screecher Belt, which is 5 int, 3 stam, 2 spirit, 12 attack power. This item personifies Shaman at 19. And like I really how you should be um, how you should be prioritizing your stats. These are perfect. Like an item couldn't get better. Like these stats, it's armor. It has boosted amount of armor because it's like a high item level quest item. Leather with the boosted amount from the high item level. It's got more int than it has stam and like a really nice healthy ratio. It's got just a little bit of spirit. Um, and then it also has that just raw attack power. So like this item itself is just so beautiful, and it's exactly kind of like what you want to be looking for with Shaman. Amount of survivability, high amount of intellect, and a good amount of attack power. Another option is Keller's Girdle. This is the caster option, the 8 int, which is just insane, with 3 stamina, although it is cloth. If you're going to be playing sort of a sit back and heal type of shaman, this would be the one you'd want to go for. And then we also show Deviant Scale Belt as like a stammy, as like a survivability option. Agi's not that big on Shaman at 19. I would much rather go just attack power than agility, but you know if you want to do that, you can. Something I should say about the caster type of shaman, don't go all cloth. Like you only want to have a couple of cloth pieces that are really big. I wouldn't go all cloth because people are gonna find out you're wearing all cloth, and like I said, like 80% of damage in 19s is physical, and when they find out that you're squishy, you're gonna get focused, and when you get focused as a shaman, um, you can kite, but you're really gonna find it hard, especially if you're going to like you want to play the caster healer, and you're wearing all cloth, and people find out that you're squishy, it will completely defeat the purpose. So just keep that in mind. Don't go all like don't think you're a priest and wear all like wearing tree bark, mind thrust, Keller's, dark weave. Like don't go all cloth because it'll defeat the purpose. Let me just remove that. That's no longer. So for legs, it is kind of hard because Legends of the Fang are so like all these are just really good options. Um, Scouting Trousers of the Eagle. I don't need to open that. 5/5. Find them on the auction house. Oh, I forgot to say Keller's and Deviant are also BOEs off the auction house. So for legs, Scouting Trousers of the Eagle is what I liked. I really liked them because of how they looked. Um, I wore like on my shaman whenever I started it out, I wore almost entirely like just full eagle scouting set. And then I came to realize, okay, I could pick up some amount of like attack power stuff. Because I found with a full eagle set, it was difficult to do enough damage to something. Look at those. I mean, they look stupid on a Tauren, but well, not stupid, but you can't really see them all that well with a Tauren. Um, anyway, what I found with like going just pure Eagle was that I wasn't really doing enough damage. Like I had a lot of int and I had a good amount of survivability, but I still needed like just a little bit more attack power. So then I started like switching up my set some and incorporating a couple of attack power items, and then I found it became so much easier to 1v1 people with like a healthy mix of attack power in with, but I still prioritized intellect and armor. Um, but yeah, being able to mix it in is really what you want, and you don't want to go overboard on it. Like with, I mean, with Leggings of the Fang, they're really good. Also, 5 strength, 4 stam, 9 agility, really strong. Um, but the thing with Leggings of the Fang, it's like you're saying, I'm a warrior, I'm a rogue, like I'm gonna go do all this damage when that's really not the playstyle uh, Shaman can do the best at. And we also show Darkweave Breaches. Um, again, for like the pure casters, want to go this. Um, but I would still say 5/5 scouting would be the best. Whoops, would be the best option for Shaman. But again, we show them all. We show Darkweave with the 150 mana and scouting with Constitution. Um, and then we show Leggings of the Fang with Arcanium of Focus. And the reason why we show the Leggings of the Fang, which are very attack power, very physical damage favored. And we show it with the focus, which is the healing and damage from spells, because the healing and damage from spells is going to end up giving you more bang for your buck than like just attack power and agility. Because I would say the majority of your damage at 19 as a shaman is from Searing Totem, Flame Tongue, and Flame Shock. So, um, if you're playing it the way that I believe Shaman to be played, and again, you can play Shaman in so many different ways that it's one of the classes where you can mix and match a lot and still make it work. But on to boots. Oh, all those were that was BOE, that was BOE, Leggings of the Fang, drop off of Lord Pythos? No. Lord Cobron, right? Yeah. Lord Cobron is where Leggings of the Fang drop in Wailing Caverns. So for boots, start out with Scouting Boots of the Eagle, 4/4s with minor run speed. And you see we show all these other boots here. I guess we'll just go through them. Trailblazer boots, which would be another option if. But see, I really wouldn't do this. I would really go with Jute Braid. So it's either Jute Braid or it's Trailblazers. And between the two. But we show it here in case you did want to go into like, you wanted to be a melee shaman. Um, that would be an option. And then we also show Grizzled Boots, which are from the Book of Urquest, which you pick up in Undercity. Is at level 18, 7 stam, 2 strength. Not that impressive of boots, but it would be your stam option before you get Nat Paggles. Oh man, I guess I'm gonna have to go over the whole ZG boot thing for each of these videos. So when ZG comes out, the Heart of a Car buff goes out. It applies in Booty Bay and it applies on the ZG Island, and it gives you, and I can never remember which is which. I think it's 15% movement speed and 10% to stats, or maybe it's the other way around. Either way, it gives you a movement speed buff that's greater than the 8% minor speed. And it should persist through death up until 1.12, but again, Blizzard is kind of clueless, so there's really no telling how they're gonna roll it out. Um, but it should, for at least 2 patches, persist through death. And so when you have this buff, you don't want to be wearing minor run speed because it'll override it. So you'd want something like Grizzled Boots, which has that 7 stam, enchanted with stamina. Or you'd want something like Trailblazers enchanted with agility, or Feet of Lynx enchanted with agility. So that you're getting the bonus from the stat while not losing out on movement speed. Um, but yeah, I would just start out Scouting Boots of the Eagle 4/4 with minor run speed. And then Nap Haggle's Extreme Angling Boots, you get this the same way you get the fishing hat. You fish it up in the STV. Fishing Tournament, which comes out with a ZG patch, 12 stam. Whole lot of stam. But yeah, and we also always show the Goblin Rocket Boots because they are really big, and you can make really big plays with them. They also have a chance to break, so you could make a big play and you could completely ruin it as well with these. They're just if you're the gambling type, these boots are a lot of fun. For rings, everyone starts out with Seal Sylvanas is at level 18. Arugal must die. Pick it up in the Sepulcher, kill Arugal out of SFK. Boom, 8 stam, 3 strength. Really nice stats on that. And I always couple it with Lavishly Jeweled Ring with Shaman, 6 int, 2 agi. It's just a great pairing of rings right there. Excuse me. But eventually, whenever you get honored with Warsong, I would end up replacing Lavishly Jeweled with Advisors, mainly because of the damage and healing in the MP5. That MP5 is gonna eventually become more mana than 6 intellect over however many minutes, but it would eventually become better. And the added damage is really nice. Another option would be Blood Ring off the auction house. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say where Lavishly Jeweled drops off of Gilnid in the Dead Mines. That's the foundry room, the like lava smelting room. Um, but another option would be Blood Ring, 5 stamina. If 5 stamina comes off the auction house, it shouldn't be very expensive. Um, Black Widow Band, I would not go because it does have the negative stamina on it, so it's just like the Mind Thrust, but a ring version, or it's got crazy int, which is really nice, but it has -5 stamina. I wouldn't go this on a shaman because survivability is really like just raw stat survivability is really important because you don't have very many mechanics uh, as a shaman to survive. And then another option would be like a 3/3 Eagle Ring. Trinkets, same for every class. Arena Grand Master, Minor Recombobulator, and Insignias. Um, Main hand. So again, like with the other classes, the weapon swaps are really big. So what we would do is we would go Evocator's Blade, which is a BOE off the auction house. Usually not that expensive. Very quick. A very quick speed. 1.6, 4 int, 2 spirit. We would enchant this with 22 intellect. And this would be, see, I've written over here, your opener purge dump, like you're dumping the mana. You would work through the amount of mana that is on 22 int and plus the 4 int from that, which is 26. So you'd work through 26 intellect worth of mana, and then you would swap on either Assassin's Blade or Stinging Viper. Um, we would enchant Assassin Blade with Fiery Weapon and Stinging Viper with Spell Power. Now, this is something that needs more testing, so there were only like a couple of people who played Shaman. And I mean, like, I had a Shaman, but it was kind of just like a side 19. It wasn't my main. And so Spell Power is really expensive, so I never really like played around too much with it. but I did try it out on Big Musk. You guys may have seen some of his videos. He put up a server, and me and him worked together to. He's missing a lot of items and stuff. Me and him worked together to kind of make to take his like private 19 server and make it better. And so I did get to play around with spell power with Stinging Viper on a Shaman. And before then, this was just very messy. We really weren't too sure. I originally used Evocator's Blade with Fiery and Flame Tongue, um, mainly because of just how fast it's a 1.6, so Flame Tongue and Fiery um, had really good procs on it. And this was like my 1v1 weapon, and I did really, really well with it. And Assassin Blade, of course, were very expensive, so I didn't like test it, on a server because of how expensive Assassin Blade was, and I felt like, you know, you're really only gaining zero point 0.2 DPS on it, and it's slower, so it's worse for Flame Tongue. So I was like, I don't know. So I never got to, but on Big Must server, I did get to test it, and I found no, what you would want to do is evocators with intellect, assassins with fiery, um, and then stinging viper with spell power. Let's take a look at stinging vipers out of Wailing Caverns off of Lord Pythos. 15.5, same amount of DPS as assassins, but much slower. And I believe you'd want to go Rockbiter again. Like his server went down too quick for me to do as much testing as I would have wanted to do. But then again, Blizzard's making all these changes, so it could be different. But I really fell in love with Fiery Enchant on Dagger for a Shaman because I just fell in love with it, and I really really loved it. And the 30 spell power is nice, but you weren't really, I don't know how to put it to get to do it justice. It's just Fiery ended up doing so much damage with the daggers, and it works so well with Flame Tongue, and you're ignoring all the armor whenever you're doing those, and it just seemed much better. Now I've seen a shaman use Stinging Viper with Rock Biter, and I think he even went Crusader on it or something. Um, and he did well enough, but he really didn't add much value for the team by doing that. Uh, so I don't know. It is kind of up in the air on what to do with weapons. But I believe that this sort of like outline would be the way to go. I think these weapons, these three, are definitely like hands down the weapons to go. But as far as what enchant to be using and how to be applying it, that is something that needs to be tested with the classic servers. And somebody who mains Shaman, maybe you can do some testing on these and then put in the comments what you see with them, because I'm sure it's changed. Um, but I would definitely go these weapons, and then whatever combination of enchants works well um, would be the way to go. Um, oh, important note. So you see I have used Flame Tongue with Assassins and used Shadow Oil with Stinging Viper. I'm not entirely sure that you can even apply Shadow Oil anymore. I haven't tested it yet. But that might not even be an option because Blizzard is so clueless and they're using this TBC reference client. But basically, the reason why I wanted to talk about this quickly is because if you put a shadow oil on and then you do flame tongue, it'll override the shadow oil. So do be aware of that your flame tongue will override like a sharpening stone or a shadow oil. Um, so do keep that in mind. And now for the shields. And there is one shield that I don't have listed on here. that I want to show you, and it is from the Isha Awak, I believe, is the quest. Where you? Yes, it is. Ward of the Veil. Um, it would literally just be for like a spirit shield, and that's like why we didn't even bother putting it on here. But I just kind of wanted to mention it in case you did want a spirit shield. Um, but and it's a fairly lengthy quest chain, as you can see. It's the Planestrider, Menace, Zevras, Prowlers, that quest line in the Barrens. But I did just want to mention that as the a spirit option for shield. But the main shield that you want to be wearing is going to be Dead Skull Shield, 1 strength, 7 stamina, excuse me, 611 armor, outrageous, with 12 to block. It also looks super cool. And this is what you get from the Battle of Hillsbrad quest. And this is what you need to pre-explore the Hillsbrad Foothills for. Because this quest chain is a lot of XP. Um, it's a lot of XP. I don't really know what else to say about it, but it's a lot of XP. So do be aware of that. And it's not so bad. So whenever I was making my shaman, and you see it with the 1 to 19 guide I did shaman, and you saw where you want to get Arctic Buckler and you also want to get Dead Skull Shield, and I also just went ahead and did the the dangerous quest for the Hooded Cow, but I never ended up turning it in because I was so close to leveling to 20. I just said no way I'm turning this in and risking leveling to 20. Um, because I only had like 2 bars left. Well, it's better here now because you can do the Arctic Buckler quest prior to 19. You can actually do this quest at 18. You can enter BFD at 18. So you I would be much more comfortable with doing Battle of Hillsbrad and Dangerous now on a Shaman because I can get Arctic Buckler at level 18. And what we would do, we would go Thorium Shield Spike with that, and this would be your like anti-physical damage type of shield that you would wear. And you would want to be swapping shields a lot during games because you can swap them in combat. And you get a rogue on you, throw on the Dead Skull Shield, which is going to be really high armor. It's going to have that thorium spike on it. Um, and we showed the Arctic Buckler, 8 Spirit, 3 Stam, 5 Frost Resistance, 642 armor, so slightly more armor, like 30 more armor, which is nothing, I mean that's quite a bit. Um, by the way, these shields will double the amount of armor that you wear, just to kind of give you perspective. And you've got to be wearing a shield because it's going to double your armor. And then 13 block, 1 more block. But you're not getting much stam. Like you're getting 4 more stam and a strength out of this, out of the Dead Skull, um, and 5 frost resistance. And what we would do is we would enchant that with frost resist, 8 frost resist enchanted on that, and that would be your anti-mage shield. And then gold plated buckler off of Miner Johnson. Silly reference by Blizzard. Out of the Dead Mines. He's a rare, by the way, so you'll have to get in there and check for him in order to get this. But 5 Stam, 2 Agi. Now notice the amount of armor difference: 471 versus 642 or 611. Like these two shields have an insane amount of armor on them compared to all the other shields at the level. Um, I'm trying to find the words to do this justice of just how important it is that you get these shields for this ridiculous amount of armor that comes on them. But yeah, gold plated shield, this would be your sort of, like melee attack type of shield. Um, and we would go greater stamina on that. So it would be like 5 stam plus I believe this should be 7 stam. Yeah, you'd end up with 12 stam and 2 agi. Just like a really good stam, like just sort of a stat stack option. And then we show glowing lantern, dim torch, but those are just for fun. Another shield that people will wear is the forest buckler. And this is kind of more for paladins, but some people will wear this to have just like an int shield. But with 478 armor, I wouldn't necessarily suggest it because it has super low stam. And I would never say that 4 intellect would be worth that amount of armor to be giving up. And then every other shield has more stam. Like, is that 5 stam on the gold plated, 3 stam on Arctic, and 7 stam on Dead Skull versus 2 here for the int, and then a huge drop in armor. I wouldn't. I could maybe see it for Paladin, but I do not see it really for Shaman. But I did want to mention it. So yeah, that is. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I not say where Arctic Buckler comes from? This comes from the quest Blackfathom Villainy, which you pick up inside of Blackfathom Depths. Whenever you get to the turtle, like that first boss, the turtle boss, he's off to the top right hand corner. He's like a corpse that's laying in there. So you pick him up and then you go kill the last boss, or I guess it would be the second to last boss in Blackfathom Depths. You get his head and then turn it in for Horde is Thunder Bluff. But yeah. Anyway, let me know if you have any comments or questions, and whatever it was, I want to ask somebody to go test, the weapon enchant, and tell me like what do you find with spell power and what do you find with fiery. But yeah, that's it, guys. I'll see you in another one.